Last year, I had the following to say about Persona 5. With any luck, I'll be making another video a year from now praising it as the best in the series, though it's got some big shoes to fill. Now that the game has finally come out, is it the best in the series? It's honestly a really tough one to answer. While the game is absolutely stunning in some aspects, at other times it manages to pale in comparison to its predecessors as it takes the series in a direction which I'm not a fan of. While I am going to reference Persona 3 and 4 throughout this video, I'm not going to spoil anything major from the games, so if you haven't played either of them, this video will be perfectly watchable. If you have played 3 and 4 however, I recommend watching the video I did on those two games, which will be in the description. It will help to understand what expectations I had of 5 when walking in. As soon as this game came out in the West, it was an instant hit, climbing to number 1 and being the best-selling game in the franchise. Atlus are seemingly aware of the Shin Megami Tensei spin-off's increasing popularity, and as the franchise becomes more mainstream, steps are being made to accommodate the newcomers entering via Persona 5. This results in the absolute biggest problem I have with the game, and one that's apparent very early on. It's just too linear. Expanding in Persona 4 giving your teammates abilities for doing social links with them, all of the social links or confidants as are now known give some form of upgrade to your team. Some of these can be quite amazing, such as Sadayo Kawakami allowing you to do a nighttime activity after going to a palace, so in my opinion, some confidants are worth doing more than others. Persona for me has always been about spending your time however you want, like some kind of mature Animal Crossing, and I don't like the idea of missing out on absolutely amazing abilities for choosing a confidant that's less beneficial. The game also pushes confidants on you even more by introducing a lot of them through the main story instead of letting you start them yourself. I don't mind the game making me aware of confidants like Persona 3 did, but I don't want it to have 6 or 7 started at once because the game won't stop throwing them at me. When the game doesn't force a confidant on you, I wondered why they bothered giving me a sense of freedom in the first place, with Morgana reminding me of the mysterious fortune teller or the beautiful shogi player every 5 fucking seconds. A saving grace of this is that the confidants are some of the best in the series, with lovely character designs keeping me engaged in furthering their story. The view society had on me due to my criminal roots also kept me interested in trying out these confidants, as I wanted to see if I couldn't improve my reputation. The game could also be quite forceful as it gave me objectives, not allowing any deviation, which completely took me out of the immersion the game offers. Early on in the game, Morgana asks me to inquire about a package I was given, and I think, okay, on the way I'll stop by this rental store and buy a DVD. However, I get told I'm in the wrong store. I understand the need to progress aspects of the story, but the game didn't need to take a direct A to B route when doing so. Despite all this ragging on confidants, I quite liked how when starting one you'd get a flash forward to the interrogation room, talking about what kind of assistance you may have received. This helped me feel more involved with them than in previous games, as emphasis was put on how their services helped you. Thankfully, the overwhelming nature the game has at the beginning becomes less of a problem as you progress and start tackling some of your earlier confidants. A nice addition to them is when some of them near completion, progress will be halted until later on in the game until a certain amount of time has passed or when a certain stat has been reached, allowing you to start working on some of your less developed ones. And no, that isn't the only positive thing I have to say. Without a doubt, the aesthetic of the game is absolutely stunning, with gorgeous red colour schemes and fabulous transitions out of combat which allow the series to retain its turn-based gameplay while seeming to be a lot more fluid while doing so. The way all the interfaces look also do a great job of accommodating this rebellious nature that the game has from being a phantom thief. I love how the game handles your group and your character, with the phantom thieves giving a rebellious tone which adds a drop of personality to an otherwise bland protagonist, and tweaking other aspects of the game to accommodate the idea of a thief working against the law. Despite what I actually achieved during a palace run, I always felt accomplished due to the infiltration log showing the achievements made, accommodating those who wish for a more slow-paced, grindy approach, though grinding is better suited to mementos despite the game not making that particularly clear. Considering everything is still timed, you could say this is just a false sense of freedom, but hey, it's better than nothing. The ambushing system, while not any different from attacking enemies from behind, made engaging in combat that little bit more enjoyable, and the implementation of the network during class was far easier than looking up the answers online. The game is also given a beautiful acid jazz soundtrack, sounding smooth and sophisticated. It's inspired by the 90s band Jamiroquai, and considering that they're my favourite band of all time, I was obviously going to love Shoji Meguro's work here. That said though, the reliance on subdued chordal patterns meant that while a lot of the songs were good and fit the moment, many didn't leave a lasting impression on me, and all merged together. As a result, when the game goes out of its comfort zone in terms of instrumentation, there were some standout tracks, such as the Third Palace theme. When all the characters manage to be so damn stylish, it's hard not to immediately like them. The character introductions are done in a similar vein to the dungeons in 4, but they are done far better here. Instead of having one of your team members be an antagonist, you're dealing with someone who has been hurting them physically or mentally, making us able to relate to their struggles far more. There's a lot of build up to the point of getting in the palace of your next target member, and the symbolism found in the dungeons does a great job of making us care for our newfound party members as we learn more about the antagonist of this section of the story foremost. Previous dungeons for the most part were quite basic in meaning and were just endless corridors with a new lick of paint on them, but the palaces here are expertly designed, with the aforementioned symbolism, puzzle mechanics playing in well to the palace theme, and they managed to distinguish themselves greatly from the ones previous. As well as having stellar introductions, I felt that the cast connected very well, with none of them really feeling out of place, all being outcasts of society in different ways. Some backstories were surprisingly touching and made me feel for characters I initially couldn't stand, and I really felt a sense of friendship from my allies. One of the best things the group has going for it is the group chat, being a simple but effective way for the group's chemistry to shine outside of storyline cutscenes. Honestly, some of the best dialogue in the game came from here. The city the game takes place in is a fabulous location, with the PS4 hardware really making the environment feel alive as the busier areas are littered with NPCs. It also lends itself very well to the story, with the search for a new target seeming nigh on impossible at times due to the large population the place has. The text boxes that keep popping up and changing depending on where the story is going really sell this place as a huge city, with information travelling fast. It's this kind of thing that helps me believe I live in this city, not just seeing it as a menu system to get to my confidants. The first part of this video may seem very negative, and I don't want to paint a picture that I'm not enjoying this game. For the majority of Persona 5 I had a great time exploring the varied palaces, interacting with the party members and grinding in mementos, which gave me similar enjoyment to what I felt in Tartarus. When you're not overburdened with confidants and you're making great use of your time later on, the game can hold up with the best both previous games have to offer, with a bit of extra polish due to the advanced hardware giving it the edge. However, you will have to get through the early linearity, which is mixed with glimpses of brilliance and absolute mediocrity. The story is paced well and carries the first 20 hours for me with some standout moments, with the learning about Kamoshida being an incredibly strong opening to the overarching premise of this game, but the overbearing feeling I felt from this section really soured my experience. If the music or the palaces were bad instead, I could look past that, but restricting my freedom in the early game is a huge problem with the fundamental enjoyment the franchise gives me. This restrictive feeling hits me the most due to the fact that I've played the previous two games, and I found that 5 had me using my time in a different way, so I don't think the majority of people will have as much problems with this linearity as I have. As a result, I expect newcomers to have an absolutely amazing experience playing this, and may even find less enjoyment when going back to play the previous games, so in that regard Atlus have succeeded in making this game appeal to their new audience. So, is Persona 5 the best in the series? The answer is, it can be. Past the opening, the game manages to excel in so many ways compared to its predecessors, but depending on whether it's your favourite will depend on what you want to get out of this game. If you enjoy Persona's combat, this will probably be your favourite, and the same will go for the dungeons and perhaps even the plot. I enjoy the freedom of these games, and 5 does open up, but it takes its sweet ass time to do so. Overall though, no matter which of these games is your favourite, they're all fantastic, and I'm very glad I got into this franchise, with 5 being another excellent addition.